Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This video is pretty much going to be the same as last time. I'm just doing a voiceover of a video I put together that combined all the underbody work that I did here, and then at the end you'll see some of the engine bay, me repainting that. Well, actually just pictures of the repaint because I didn't get any video of it. But yeah, so some of the clips I'm going to be talking, I'll just let that ride through, and then others I'll just hop in there and discuss what's going on. So without further ado here. What's going on, everybody? Just giving you a quick update of what's going on. It's been a multi-day video pretty much. It's going to be probably a long video because I've been working on this for a couple days now, but I'll give you a quick update of what's going on here. I've been getting this underbody, trying to clear it out. I've been using a wire wheel to get most of that black stuff off. You see this side, I tried to scrape some of it off. But that's what I'm working on right now is wire wheeling all this. Hopefully it cleans up pretty good. I'll probably have to wipe it down with some acetone afterwards because I'm going to coat everything on this underbody with some 415. So that's what I'll be doing today. So I had mentioned that I'd be coating everything with 415. Again, I did not do that. I used epoxy primer to coat the underbody, and anything I had to primer, I used an epoxy primer. But here you can see me starting with that wire wheel. This stuff took forever. I probably spent 2 or 3 days, 8 hours each, under this car, just cleaning all this stuff up. And some places I had to do 2 passes, some more, and a lot of wax remover and acetone to dry some stuff up and get all this stuff out. But I pretty much worked kind of like in quarters, so I pretty much did all of this to here and just worked all this out, and then I'll go further down all the way to the rear floor pan there and did the same thing on this side. And then in this tunnel here was a pain in the butt too, trying to clean all this up because there's really no way to get behind this, so you just gotta kind of hope and pray you can get as much out as you can, and then when you paint it, hopefully nothing underneath it's rusting. That's the best you can do there without kind of like drilling in the little press spots and dropping that whole thing out. But yeah, this just took forever. This was probably the most time consuming part of the whole build right here. Also, you see me taking all this white underbody off. That's the factory stuff, and then also there's some of this black stuff here. It looks like somebody else had went in there and tried to spray some underbody on there, and I hate that black stuff. It flung everywhere, and it was, once you heated it up a little bit, it got pretty much liquidy, where this white stuff didn't. It kind of just flung across everywhere. As you can see the dust falling there, it more felt like dust rather than this where it flings everywhere. So it was just a pain in the butt. But eventually my arms do get tired here, and at one point, for the most part, I spent most of my time on my back on the creeper underneath the car doing it that way, just because I guess my shoulders are too weak, so I couldn't handle it. But yeah, just most time consuming part of the whole build was this right here, cleaning everything up. Like they say all the time, prep is key. This was a lot of prep. So I'll just fast forward through here. You can see me working that tunnel, or close to the tunnel. Oh, rewind there. My bad, guys. You want to see all the progress I've made on this thing? Look, this is taking for flipping ever. Used to look like that. Now it looks like that. But geez, oh Pete, it takes forever, man. This is crazy. Yep, you heard me complaining. Taking forever, of course. But here I start working this inner fender well here. And again, this black crap, hated it. I hated it. This video is pretty much the same. I mean, you just see me working this panel. I just want to mark, like, it's 5 minutes here, 5 minutes, almost 6 minutes. And if I fast forward through here, you can see how much time it takes just to do a little area. We're already over, what, 4 minutes there? Just working that one little spot. You kind of like multiply that with all the other big panels that I had to do. So it just took a lot of time. A lot of cleaning. You get the idea though. Looks decent after it's done though. What's going on, guys? Quick update what I got going on. Right now I've been, like I said, working on cleaning all this stuff up. I got this wheel well done over here. So it looks pretty clean. I still gotta wipe everything down with acetone and probably go over it one more time and make sure everything's nice and clean. But I got that part clean. And I went over here because my arms got tired from using that wire brush, but I dropped the subframe, rear subframe here, and I got the parking brake disconnected from the rear brakes here. And I dropped those rotors as well on both the rear, left and right rear wheels. So that way I can start sanding and getting all this nasty rust off too, because I'm gonna epoxy paint all this, like I said, to hopefully get that rust out. Oh, I also dropped the fuel fill from up there, and then I gotta drop this box right here too. So, and then the rear bumper's gotta come off, and I'm definitely taking this off too. So that's where I'm at right now. So this part I'm just showing the seam sealer there from factory and how I wire brushed down. I do get this like really clean before, you know, I work on painting it. And then for the spots that I needed to reapply some or needed to apply some because factory didn't, I used that gray seam sealer there. I don't have any videos of that, but just know the parts that did need it got the seam sealer. Here's what she looks like now. Nice and clean. And then I just got to do the rear end here, which, I mean, that's a lot less work. I'm leaving this on the fuel tank because there's pretty much no rust here. So I said I was going to leave that on the fuel tank. I did for the most part, but I did take the wire brush and clean it up because obviously I don't want none of that black stuff on there. And then I needed to give a nice, good, gritty surface for... I painted over it with epoxy paint or epoxy primer, and I'm no professional painter or anything like that, but you know, I just wanted to make it all look uniform, and I'm hoping that that paint sticks to it pretty good. And I'm not too worried about this part if it doesn't, again, because that coating's on there. So I just painted everything under there to make it all look uniform. So I'm just gonna leave that, and I'll probably seal a little bit through here, but I'll come through here and get all this crap off. For the most part, I'm done. And this is after probably the first coat of epoxy paint, first or second, probably the second. I think it turned out fantastic. I was very happy with it. And then this is that Raptor bed lining. I put 2 coats of that on there underneath as well. And I am just really happy with how this turned out. Again, not a professional, but I think it turned out pretty good. And then these are just a bunch of photos of kind of the progress going through it. Some of it's a little repetitive, but you can just see how I worked everything. And me with a bunch of the rubber shavings all over me. Here's the rear. You see how rusty it was. Pain in the butt. And you'll see here in a second how rusty it was. I mean, this spot here I cut out because it was so bad. And I think what was happening was there were some spots where there wasn't seam sealer, and the water must have just been leaking in here, and it pretty much would get trapped. So I cleaned all the seam sealer that was there out, and this is what it revealed. And you'll see here where I cut it out. I got all of this rust out pretty much, and then I fabbed up a little stainless piece here, and I'm pretty sure I had to refab this up because I had to get it out over here and bend it a little. And then I used a MIG and welded that piece in there. And again, I'm not no professional welder or anything like that, but of course I used a grinder to make it look decent. You'll see here after I welded it the first time, I didn't like how this was turning out. I mean, it pretty much looks like just a bunch of little tacks. So I went back across and welded through it again to make it all smooth. So I welded it, made it a little higher in the pits, and then grinded it back down and made it nice and smooth. And these are some jack stands that I used. Luckily, my buddy Colby helped me out here. Thanks, Tony, for letting me borrow it. Shout out to you. And Colby for hooking me up with that connection. They were a huge help. Basically, they're just tall jack stands, and I put a block of wood up here and then sat the top of the strut tower where the strut tower bolts in. I just sat the car on top of that, and it helped for when I started painting everything under here. I didn't have to worry about these lift arms being in the way. And then also, before I started painting, since that rear was so hard to get to, I used an outdoor sandblaster here, and I sandblasted a lot of this stuff in the rear here, and it just helped out a lot for like nooks and crannies and stuff like this I wouldn't be able to get with sandpaper. It just helped. I went over this a couple times. And then again, the epoxy finish here and the Raptor bed lining finish. So a fender well I did all 4 fender wells as well. And then this right here, this is every Evo owner's nightmare, I could say, but hopefully I put a permanent fix to it. But basically there's a stud, I'll call it. It's really like a bolt that runs down through here, and then there's a nut on the bottom of this front subframe here that kind of holds that subframe in place. And yes, I know you're probably supposed to have a little bit of wiggle there, but what I ended up doing was drilling out these little pressed kind of spot welds, I guess you can call it. So I drilled those holes out, and then I cut straight across here, and I pulled that piece out. And inside is where that bolt usually is, and you can kind of see the ending of it here. And I used my MIG, and I tacked her down on one side. I did the best I could as far as tacking it, but then I ended up folding that piece back over. I did put some paint over it. Hopefully it doesn't, rust or anything like that. I don't plan on having the car out in the water, bad weather or anything like that, so that'll kind of negate the majority of that. But the whole idea here was to there's a cage that usually goes around this top of this stud here that's supposed to keep it from spinning, but after so many times of that nut on the bottom getting stuck, or people using impacts, and it just starts, that bolt in there, the head of that bolt just starts spinning and spinning and spinning, and then you end up, what most people do is sticking a screwdriver right in through here, and that's why you see it kind of bent here. That's how I had to take it all down. So I decided I was just going to cut it open, tack her down, weld her down the best I could, and then put it all back together. And I didn't have any issues putting it back together. It makes it easier torquing in and loosening her up now. So this was the finish of that side. I filled in those holes I had there. I did fill in these holes as well. And I got rid of all the seam sealer here and put in new after I was done. So this was the passenger side. And then this side I actually used my TIG welder. As you can see, with some stainless filler there. And I did the same thing here. Cut in there, tacked her down, and then filled all these holes back in, and then made it look pretty, and then put some new seam sealer across all this. And this is the stuff I didn't capture on video. I wish I did. Definitely, like I said, I'm not the greatest painter. It's my first time actually doing any type of paint, but I sanded everything down here in the engine bay because I wanted to redo it. Again, my biggest thing is corrosion control, so I sanded everything down, and then I epoxy primered it. That's what it looked like, epoxy primer. I think it turned out decent. And then this is probably after the first or second coat of base, and I used the paint code W37 was what mine is, Wicked White, and repainted it. And my clear coat's where I messed up the most. You can't see in this picture. Well, I didn't. This doesn't look like it's cleared yet, actually. But down through here, I got some runs, and probably right around here where this motor mount is, of clear, because I had never coated anything before in my life. So, but you're not going to see that. Well, the motor and everything's sitting in there, but as she sits now, it looks really nice. So I was very happy with how everything turned out. So the next video I think is going to be probably me starting to reassemble the parts since we finished all the painting and stuff like that. So if you want to see that, stick around, like, follow, subscribe, all the socials, and I'll see you in the next one.